My friends, good day. Today, I'm going to tell you an astonishing story that begins with an exchange between an air traffic controller and a pilot.
My co-pilot just ran out the back of the plane. He just did what now? He just ran out the back of the plane.
The pilot says, "I'm alone because the co-pilot jumped out of the plane." The controller has trouble understanding. He heard the words clearly, but he's having a hard time processing them. He asks for it to be repeated. The pilot repeats on the frequency. The co-pilot jumped out of the plane. He went to the back and he jumped. And then a little later, so there's no misunderstanding about the situation, because there are legitimate reasons to jump out of a plane, so to speak, he confirms he jumped without a parachute.
The pilot, I'm at the back. He jumped with a parachute.
That means the outcome is inevitably fatal. So how did we get to this point? Let me tell you. It's July 29, 2022, and we have a CASA 212 plane. We're in the United States in North Carolina. The CASA 212, just as a side note, is a twin-engine propeller plane originally from Spain, even though it's made in Indonesia today. It's a very rugged aircraft that's used for parachuting, cargo, and military purposes, and it's still being manufactured today. Rugged because it doesn't have retractable landing gear and it's not pressurized. It's a very easy aircraft to fly, and it has an interesting feature, stall, which means it's capable of taking off and landing on extremely short runways. So what is it used for today? That day, as I was saying, it's July 2022. It's going to be used for parachutists. CTSB will classify the case under Part 91, which means it's a private flight. In reality, the aircraft belongs to Rempart Aviation, which is a rather discreet company that works for the US government, only has contracts with the military, and doesn't serve the public at all. And that day, it seems there were jumps by American Special Forces paratroopers. So the aircraft lands, picks up paratroopers, lets them jump, comes back, picks up another group, and so on. On board, there are two pilots, a captain and a co-pilot, who will be of particular interest to us. He is 23 years old, he was born in Peru, he is American, and he is someone who is passionate about aviation, and Rempart, this is his first job. Honestly, people don't stay long at Rempart, but simply, it's a stepping stone toward an airline job once you have enough flight hours. We are making the third approach that day. And then what happens is that the co-pilot is at the controls, who is going to make this landing. The weather was very summery, 33 degrees, a bit of wind, some turbulence. There was also wind shear. But on these planes, there isn't any system that allows you to anticipate wind shear or even detect it. For example, on Boeing's, Airbuses, and other airliners, seriously, there are systems that constantly monitor what's ahead of the aircraft, track its energy state, and calculate how that energy is changing. And that are able precisely to help the pilot or make the presence or risk of wind shear much clearer. On this kind of aircraft, there aren't any. In any case, what will happen is this. We have our pilot who is making his approach calmly. The wide runway lies ahead of him. He's at the right speed and on the glide path, doing everything perfectly. And suddenly, without any warning at all, the plane starts to sink sharply. That means he's flying it, and suddenly he has 100 vario dropping. The vertical speed drops deep into the negative, and the plane starts to fall like a helicopter. It's time to go around. So he decides to go around. The captain is also yelling, "Go around." He pushes the throttles all the way. By the time the propellers catch the air, it starts to accelerate. The aircraft hits the ground hard, and then it bounces and takes off. By the way, that's why on the memory items, actually on both Airbus and Boeing, when pilots have to respond to a wind shear warning, they don't retract the landing gear right away. They must wait for a good positive rate of climb before proceeding. Why? Because unfortunately, with wind shear on short final, there's a risk, even if you react in time, even if you go around, there's still a risk of going down toward the ground and hitting it. Donc, the aircraft bounces and climbs to 400 feet. The captain tells the co-pilots, "Give me the controls," and takes over. Now they must assess the damage. So what he does is he decides to make a pass over the airport, a low altitude pass. Meanwhile, there's a guy who saw the impact. What does he do? He gets in a car, he goes onto the runway, And what does he find there? He finds a metal tube. And at the end, there's a wheel. And so it's very clear. They're going to tell the pilots, listen, the right landing gear, the right main gear, we have it here in the trunk of a car. So there you go. It just fell off. That's all. Now, the pilots are in a tricky situation. They know the day isn't going to end normally. So they have to land. They have to land with the landing gear down on one side only. There will be a runway excursion. At this point, it's clearly inevitable. Now, the good news is, as I told you, this is a plane that can land in a very short distance. So it can approach very, very slowly with very low energy. And so potentially this can limit the damage. So what do the pilots do? Since it's a very small airport with a short runway, they decide to give themselves a better chance by heading to an airfield that's better suited for an emergency landing. So they contact Durham Airport. We're still in North Carolina. They explain the situation. The controller gives them vectors, and at the same time, there are firefighters, support vehicles, and all that positioning themselves along the runway on the taxiways so they can help as soon as they land. So up to this point, everything is fine. They're at 3,500 feet with some turbulence causing slight shaking. And then our pilot, he's extremely nervous. He's feeling awful. He feels like he made a big mistake, all that. And in a way, we understand him. He's young. He just broke some equipment. It's probably the first time. So yeah, he feels guilty. But that guilt really has no reason to exist. Among my contacts are pilots who have crashed planes, and not just small planes either. I'm talking about aircraft, commercial passenger jets and all that, and they really crashed them badly. The plane never flew again. And despite all that, despite everything, maybe there was a little bit of a rough patch in their career. Afterwards, they flew again and everything was fine. But him, in a way, he's going to take it literally. And he has all the faith of youth. He's 23 years old and all that. So he's feeling worse and worse. And what happens? At one point, he feels like throwing up. And what does he do? He opens the window on the side. He sticks his face out into the air like this. And that's not enough for him. That's not enough for him. He's really feeling very bad. And what he's going to do is, at some point, take off his helmet, take off his seatbelt, apologize to the captain. He says, I'll leave you alone for a minute. He goes to the back. And with that, the captain sees the light turn on, the ramp at the back of the Casa. So the Casa has a ramp, a bit like the Hercules. The Hercules is much bigger. But the ramp allows for oversized cargo to be loaded, lets parachutists jump out and all that. So he sees that it's opening. So what happens is that our pilot here, even though it's been speculated, didn't want to jump. That wasn't the goal. He didn't want to throw himself into the void, no. What he wanted was, since he was in pain, he was nauseous, he just wanted to throw up. That's it, that's all. And he wanted some air. So he opened the ramp. He's moving forward on the edge of it, carefully, just like he saw parachutists do all day long, except they had a backpack with a parachute in it, of course. And what he does is he gets closer. He's not doing well. Careful, he's not doing well. He's dizzy. He feels like throwing up. Like I said, there are turbulences. And with that, what's going to happen is that he's going to lose his balance and fall out. So he's going to fall out. That's when the captain turns around and no longer sees him. And that's when we have this extraordinary call with ATC where he tells them, I'm alone, and the co-pilot has jumped. So what will happen is that the rescue teams will go look for the place where this pilot is presumed to have landed. They will find him. They will find him in a field. He is, of course, deceased. So he was killed by the impact. The other one, the captain, he's alone in the aircraft. What is he going to do? He will keep going. He will eventually land. When he touches down, you have to understand that he can't land with the gear retracted. He doesn't retract the landing gear. So on the left side, the wheel is there. On the right side, there isn't one. So he lands. Afterwards, what will happen is that the aircraft will hit the runway and go off. It's destabilized, so it goes off. He goes into the field, he slides a little and then stops. The firefighters are there. There's no fire, there's nothing. And the pilot is safe and sound. He was just shaken up. It was just a bit of a rough landing. And then, just so you know, the plane will fly again. The plane was simply repaired. It wasn't too serious what happened. So it was grounded for a while. It was repaired, inspected, and then it went back into service. And this poor pilot, so he died in this incident. And honestly, really, the equipment, you have to remember, if you're a student pilot or anything like that, remember that human life is important and that the equipment, honestly, it's insured. It's insured. The insurers pay. It's not a problem. They're used to it. They charge a lot for airplanes, and they know that from time to time they're going to get some big bills. So honestly, don't worry about that. It happens. Things break. Even, by the way, the NTSB in its report doesn't blame the pilot for the impact with the runway. It says it was a wind shear. No one can blame a pilot who damages a plane because of unpredictable wind shear. Honestly, it could have happened to anyone. That wouldn't have tarnished his career. It happens to the best. There you go, my friends. So I thank you for watching this video until now. Thanks to those who support this channel by subscribing on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. There are a lot of videos today, and I keep adding more. There are 2 or 3 that will be coming out this month. That's it. And then my latest book is available on Amazon, The Titan. A rather chilling story. 5 people went to explore the Titanic in a submersible that had nothing but problems, and you'll see. As you read the book, you realize that the implosion, which made headlines around the world at the time, had literally been predicted, because we know it. You can see it. You see it incident after incident. There was hardly a single dive that didn't end with a problem, so it was just a matter of time before it ended in tragedy. Available on Amazon in paperback format. Thank you for watching this video up to this point, and I'll see you in the next one.